How's it going, everybody? We are here to bring you the Hickory Drop. He is one of Vermont's elite legendary glass artists. We've been working with him for many years. We've got a huge selection of his classic hickory work, some of his cedar work, and a small selection of his beautiful birch work. We're really happy to show it off for you today. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the birch rig. This is one of my favorite pieces in the whole drop. It is signed on both the dabber and on the bottom of the termination. It's a 14mm, 45 degree. This birch pattern is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. He does this really cool saw cutting thing that he has to do during the cold working part of it. It's very labor intensive, but the results are stunning. And he's working with a new type of white recently that looks much more natural. It's got a sort of forest camo vibe to it. Looks like there's some moss growing on it and stuff like that. All right, we've got two other rigs. This first one here is a sort of stunning mushroom chamber, like terrarium style rig. I have only seen a few that he's done like this. It's a really cool, elegant design. It is filled top to bottom with UV reactive sections. This dabber in particular is completely coated in Illuminati by the looks of it. Yeah, there's a full transparent green layer on this that will show off in some photos for you. Again, the dabber is signed and the rig itself is signed. The base of this is covered in a super thick layer of amber purple. Really one of the more stunning pieces I've ever seen him do. There's also some glow-in-the-dark parts on the mushrooms there. And then we have one of his more traditional bubbler style rigs, again with the signed dabber attachment. This has the Illuminati sections on both sides. This is a 14mm, and it's got these really beautiful sort of black rotten wood sections that he does. Again, with the detailed branch work. Always love these. Alright, so got a bunch of birch stuff to show off for you. We're going to start with this big Sherlock. We have two Sherlocks. This is the bigger of the two. And again, I am in love with the new pattern he's been doing on the birch. This is a technique that he's had for a few years. He developed it with Raj Singh, but it's been, sort of developing as the years go on, and the color has developed into a much more natural state now. I really love it. And this is the smaller one. And these have huge bowls on them. All of his dry pieces tend to have massive thumb-sized bowls. Signature's right on the bottom of the termination, just like always. We've got 3 of these lovely spoons, straight out of the forest. These have the signature right on the base of them. And yeah, again, these look like they've been sitting there waiting for somebody to pick them up off the side of the trail. We've got 3 of these guys. They've all got slightly different patterns in the bark. They're all about the same size. So, we've got a bunch of oneies as well. We have 2 of the stand-up oneies with the sort of worked bowls. And these tend to have much bigger bowls than the regular oneies do. And they have signatures right here on the side. Again, these are slightly different, but they're almost exactly the same size. And we have 4 of his classic stick oneies. This is the lightest one. This is sort of pure white, which most of the rest of them aren't. A lot of them have that dark gray and brown complexion to them, like they've been in the woods for a long time. This is some freshly harvested birch bark. This is one of the darker ones, a lot more saturated. And these all have signatures, just like everything else, right here on the side, below the 3rd nub. If you're looking for a sort of classic, accessible collector's item from Hickory, this is the way to go. Especially if you want a piece of birch, because birch is hard to find these days. And then we have a single one of his tokers. This is the only toker we got in this whole batch. In birch. These are pretty rare, so whoever gets this gets a steal. We also have a beautiful assortment of his cedar wood. This lovely, heavy, saturated red, like reddish brown orange color. And these all have really thick lenses on the base too. This is called a windswept. It's one of his iconic dry stand-up pieces. It's supposed to look like a tree sitting on top of a windswept hill. At least that's how I imagine it. We've also got a stand-up spoon. And I have always loved how, instead of just doing full cedar, he has stripes of the classic hickory yellow interspersed to give a lot more definition to the red color. And these are all signed on the bottom, just like everything else. I love the termination on the bottom of this one. And then we have one small cedar Sherlock with an absolutely enormous bowl. And some really beautifully detailed line work on the neck of it here, with the nubs. Got little like white stripes in here on the side that make it look very aged. Again, everything here that he makes looks like it's spent years in the woods waiting for somebody to find it. We have 4 of his spoons, 4 little guys, the triple nubs. The signature's right on the bottom, and the termination's on the front. They're all fairly similar, but 2 of them are definitely more red and 2 of them are more yellow. So this is one of the more yellow ones. Got this one, the really bright stripe down the side. And this one it's got like a little knot in the termination, which I always love. So we have 2 different sizes of his classic sticks. These are the 4 nubs, which are sort of the larger ones. And they do have larger bowls too. These have the super deep bowls, just like the Sherlocks do. We have 3 of these guys. This one's really chunky around the middle. The placements of the nubs is always a little different, but somehow he always nails the ergonomics of them. They fit really nicely in your fingers. And then we have 5 of the smaller classic ones. 3 nubs. This one is covered in knots, which is one of my favorite elements of this pattern. We spent a lot of years really dialing in how to make this look actually like wood. This one's got sort of a pink tone to it. All of his wood tones are different every time, just depending on the flame chemistry and sometimes the atmosphere on the day he was working. Again, these have slightly smaller bowls than the large chillums do, but they're still designed to smoke a lot at once. And finally, we have a huge assortment of the classic Hickory Tech. It's the old school wood grain. Starting with, these are called nubbed hobbit pipes. They're not technically Gandalf pipes because Gandalf smoked a hobbit pipe. We have 2 of these guys. The detail on these is really stunning. There's a lovely amount of amber purple in all of the spikes, all the nubs. It's just extremely intricate line work going all the way up the stick to the end. And if you've ever smoked one of these, you know exactly how functional they are. And then we have 2 of the larger, slightly cleaner nubless ones. A little bit more like what Gandalf himself probably would have smoked. These ones in particular have a really, really saturated, like almost Mediterranean green going on down the bottom on the terminations. And again, we have 2 of these guys. That one's the sort of lighter green one. This one has this more almost emerald. It's like a Vermont swimming hole. you know, you know. And then we have a pretty wide assortment of his smaller Sherlocks as well. We have a single one of these bigger 4 nubs. And then I have 3 of pocket-sized travel Sherlocks. These have 3 nubs. They're probably the most popular heady Sherlock we sell. Got a really strong emerald on this guy again. A couple of knots right on the front. And then, again, with that lovely pale Mediterranean blue on the bottom of this guy. We have a single one of his classic windswept pieces, which are an excellent way of showing off a big wide section of his pattern work. Anytime he pulls a stack of this stuff, it ends up being a really stunning piece of color, no matter what. And it's always different, just because of the chemistry. There's no way to get it the same every time. We have 2 of the standing spoons, looking straight out of the Scottish play. And then the bigger one here, with a really pale, almost white carb. And beautiful green termination at the bottom of that one. And we have a single standing chillum as well. It's a pretty uncommon piece. There's no carb, but it's a gigantic bowl, just like one of the Sherlocks. If you're looking for the headiest chillum in the shop, so we have 3 of his jumbo size spoons. These are the biggest ones he makes. Have the signature right on the bottom. Big termination on the front, just like all of them, but they're 4 or 5 inches long. Easy. I'll show you one in comparison to smaller spoons. So that is the first one. We have this one, which is the sort of lighter pale green pattern up in the top. That stretches down along to the carb as well. And then this one has a sort of dense yellow and almost cedar wood looking sort of pinkish stripe on one side. If you're looking for a heady dry, look no further. We have a pretty huge assortment of the smaller spoons. We got 2 of them to show off here, but I believe we have 15 of these. They've got all sorts of different color patterns, greens, oranges, yellows, pale whites, different knot patterns on them. If you'd like to see up-close photos or detailed shots of any of them, we'd be happy to get in touch with you. The one that started it all, the classic hickory stick. We have 2 sizes of these. These are the large ones with the 4 nubs on them. Again, just super ergonomic, they fit beautifully. And we have triple nubs, small guys. These are sort of the original, like OG chillum that he makes. And we have quite the assortment of both of these, similar to the spoons. If there are photos that you would like to see, please get in touch with us. We'd be happy to send you detailed shots, let you pick the exact one you'd like. All right, that's it for the Hickory Drop. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Keep an eye on our website and our social media. We're going to be doing a live drop for all this stuff on the 6th, but if you guys are local, you can come down and check it all out in person beforehand. Thanks again.
you.